The best thing about the Lowrider ST is I wanted to talk about the best thing about the Lowrider ST people might not even realize, and that is bone stock from the factory. This bike is awesome. This is one of the very few bikes that you can take from the dealership and not have to do anything to. It has everything you need from the factory to just take it out and ride and have a great time. Now this bike isn't cheap. MSRP, depending on what color and options you get, is 25-ish, maybe more, maybe less, depending on your area and availability. So that is not cheap. So being able to get a bike from the dealer and not have to do anything to right away is definitely something to consider. Because as we all know, doing any type of modifications or upgrades to your Harley-Davidson is expensive. You know, Harley-Davidson does stand for high dollar, and even the aftermarket parts are definitely high dollar. So you don't have to go spend $25,000 on this motorcycle and then do a bunch of upgrades to it. It's good just straight from the dealership stock. You know, one of the great things about this bike is it is what you would kind of consider a performance bagger, I guess. It is set up with a fairing and bags, so you can do touring on this bike, but it has a higher lean angle and mid controls and the 117 engine, so you can really get some performance out of this bike and do the twisties, but still be set up for touring if you wanted to. And even the stock exhaust, you know, isn't the best sounding. It doesn't have that Harley sound, but after you do your initial break-in and can really get on the throttle, wide open throttle, the exhaust does sound really good. Now let's hear this stock exhaust. And man, this thing having that 117 engine is just awesome. It has tons of power and torque without having to do anything to it. Another great thing, which is part of the touring feature of this bike, is cruise control. This has been one of my most favorite features of this bike is cruise control. I didn't know I needed it until I had it and got to use it, and I use it all the time. So I know $25,000, give or take, is not cheap by any means, but from the factory, what you get as far as option wise, if you get traction control, cruise control, ABS, you are getting a lot of bang for your buck in the Harley platform anyway. I've got a little over 800 miles on this bike so far, and the only thing I've done to it has been the LED turn signals on the front, just because I already had those from my Sportster, so why not? I just had those laying around. And then I swapped out to the 10-inch windscreen from Harley-Davidson. I'm kind of torn between if I actually like that or not. I don't know if the microphone has picked it up at all or not, but there is definitely a noticeable whistling noise. So the stock one is fine. At my height though, it was kind of, the wind was coming up and hitting me directly in the visor. But with this one, it does allow me to open my visor if I wanted to, get a little breeze in. But then you got that noise, which I've been hearing is kind of a common thing. But I do get some more head buffeting, but I got another video going over that I'll post up here in case you're interested in that. The suspension on this thing is just great out of the factory. I mean, especially coming from a Sportster Iron 883, man, it is a completely different riding experience. It is so comfortable to take this thing out and just ride anywhere. I don't see any need to really upgrade the suspension, maybe someday down the road, but I mean, the suspension on this, you have the 117 engine, plenty of power, and then the mid controls really do let you kind of do some aggressive riding if you want to. And then obviously you have the options to add forwards or highway pegs or whatever you want to do. But you don't have to. You can ride this thing stock out of the dealership and enjoy it as is. And that's exactly what I've been doing, is just riding it in a stock format. Yes, I do have upgrades planned for it, but like I've said, they are not cheap. But it is awesome that you can just ride this stock and have no issues and do the upgrades whenever you can. And one cool thing I found out is joining Facebook groups on this bike, and people show kind of what they did and their experience with all the different upgrades they've done, what they like, what they don't like about it. And that way you could kind of get some opinions on what people are doing. The reviews on the websites where you buy the stuff, I don't know, I don't always trust those, but joining those groups really do give you an idea of what your bike could look like and anything you can do to it, because there's people that do crazy stuff to this. I mean, custom paint jobs, a bunch of stuff you wouldn't think about until you see it. So you really get some good ideas of how you want to make this bike your own. And another thing I like about this bike, stock versus my Sportster, is 6th gear for highway rides just like this. So I can't say it enough, the best thing in my opinion about this bike is the fact that you can take it stock, have basically a touring bike if you want to, or if you want to really ride aggressive around those corners and everything, this bike can do that without having to do anything to it. And it is really difficult to find any of these used since they are so new and pretty popular. So if you are able to find one at a dealership and you're torn between what bike to get and are really considering this, especially if you want a Softail platform but aren't quite ready to go to a touring model or don't even really need it for what you want, this bike is really something to consider. I was torn between a Lowrider S, Street Bob, or this. And man, I am glad I went with this. There were upgrades I were gonna have to do to those bikes right away to get it to where I wanted to, basically this setup. So just spend that initial investment that's gonna really hurt initially, but then you are gonna love it and can just keep this thing stock and enjoy it until you're ready to upgrade or able to. So let me know down in the comments what you guys think of the Lowrider ST if you have one, what upgrades you've done or are thinking about doing. And if you want to check out some more videos on this Lowrider ST, check out this playlist right here. And I'm going to be adding more, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you can be notified when we come out with more videos on the Lowrider ST. Thanks for watching.